Hi, I'm Darren and welcome to New Factory Classics, and today we're going to break down Joker, Folie. The Joker sequel begins with a playful Warner Brothers animation. Me and My Shadow is a dream sequence in Arthur's head, set in the location of when he killed Murray Franklin. But that dream turns into a nightmare when the Shadow wants to be more famous than Arthur. In the theaters, this was a really confusing start to the film, but then again, it only got much, much worse. The real Arthur wakes up in prison. He is awaiting trial for the murder of Murray Franklin. And just like every other prisoner, Arthur needs to pour out his bucket of piss from overnight. Arthur needs to go see his lawyer today. They need to prepare for his upcoming trial for the murder of Murray. You see, the government looks down on people who murder the nighttime hosts of late night TV. Now, if anyone still watched those kind of things in real life, they would probably be traumatized. Arthur takes all of his meds. It makes him less likely to act like the Joker. It makes him less likely to do anything at all. You see, while on all these meds, Arthur is just kind of floating through life, not really able to think and feel anything at all. While shaving Arthur and preparing him to visit his lawyer, the guards ask him to tell a joke. I mean, he was a comedian in a former life. You see, everyone just has one bad week. People always remember OJ the murderer, but not OJ the amazing running back. On his way to meet his lawyer, Arthur is taken by a bunch of people singing, doing choir practice. In there, he sees a dirty blonde that sees him and somehow recognizes him. She seems really nice. His lawyer lets him know that today they are going to meet a psychiatrist. They want to look into if Arthur is even fit to stand trial. The lawyer and psychiatrist seem to think that Arthur has a split personality. The normal version of Arthur that we see every single day, and the Joker, the one that did all those crimes. For the first 15 minutes of this film, Arthur hasn't said a single word, which is perfectly fine. We came here to see a bunch of guards saying banter, not to see Joker speak at all. While doing his interview, Arthur doesn't want to speak. He only says a few words and just wants to smoke. Arthur really doesn't care about the diagnosis of a split personality. Arthur really doesn't care about anything at all. The guards are really happy with Arthur. He's been taking all of his meds lately and he's been acting really well. They decided to enter him into the choir group to see if that will help liven him up. Yes, Arthur is doing so well in prison. Schedules, pills, medicine, and just floating through life, though he really is just a shell of a person. But today's the day he gets to go to choir practice, and he gets to meet that girl that seems so interesting. And she also smells interesting too. Do I smell meat dress on you? After class, Arthur goes to the side and speaks to Lee. She's very interested in him, and it turns out she got sent to prison because she lit her parents' apartment on fire. It looks like our boy has met a kindred spirit. You see, Lee was also beaten as a child, just like Arthur, and she was a huge fan of him murdering Murray Franklin. They have so much in common. Arthur is so happy. He's even getting chummy with the guards, but when he puts his arm around the guard pushes him to the wall and yells at him, because he must remember he's not actually friends with them. They are still his guards. Unfortunately, Arthur finds out he was sane and must go to trial. It turns out that Harvey Dent is the one that will be prosecuting his trial. I'm sure that man will be only one-sided and not some sort of two-faced lawyer. But just like anyone who just found out that they are on trial for multiple murders and may actually get the death penalty, he breaks out into song and dance in his head. The guards tie Arthur up to a pole and leave him in the rain to cry like some sort of abused dog. Arthur gets to go to movie night with Lee and she sits right next to him. She's so excited to be with him, she asks him to run away with her. But he won't because he's afraid of being shot to death. Unhappy that he won't run away, Lee starts a fire in the back of the film room and everyone ends up running away. She takes this chance to grab him and see if they can escape. This chick is definitely nuts, but she's super into Arthur, so he'll go with it. She pulls him out of a side door and they end up running to the fence of the prison, where all the paparazzi are waiting. They've been wanting to speak with Arthur for many days. The guards throw him down a cement set of stairs and end up throwing him into solitary confinement. 2 weeks alone should calm him down from his craziness. While alone, Arthur imagines a song and dance number with Lee. He's really starting to go crazy again. The guards let Lee come in to visit him in solitary confinement, because that's what solitary confinement is known for, having visitors. She reveals she's being released next week, but she bribed the guards to let her in to see him one last time. She's also there to bang him, but only if he puts on his clown makeup. It does really make you wonder what happened to her at McDonald's when she was younger. Before she leaves, she asks him to stop taking his meds. She doesn't want Arthur on the stand. She wants Joker. Arthur's lawyer sets up a live interview. She wants to show the world that he's a flawed human, not just a murderous psychopath. Arthur explains that he originally planned to off himself on the Murray Franklin show, but Murray was just being too annoying, so he just had to let go. He explains he no longer wants to die and he hopes to be found not guilty. He is not the Joker that everyone thinks he is anymore. That he wants to live. He wants to be free. He wants to be with Harley Quinzel. Arthur sings for the cameras. He's in love. He is bewitched. Day 1 of the trial, Arthur is doing his crazy laughing while driving there. It looks like Gotham is on full lockdown. And it turns out a lot of the public loves him. A lot of them believe the people that were murdered all deserved it. In walks the judge, who looks way too much like Martin Scorsese. There, I said it. Arthur is nervous because Harley is not sitting in the audience of the trial. Unfortunately, she decides to arrive fashionably late because Harley wants all the focus on her. She wants to be famous even more than Joker. The DA begins saying that Arthur does not have a split personality and he is fit to stand trial. Arthur's lawyer tries to dispel this, talking about all the childhood trauma that he endured. First up on the witness stand is Arthur's social worker, and talks about all his writings about the murders and all his horrible jokes. Unfortunately, it also brings up his crushes and embarrasses Arthur. Harley and Arthur's lawyer get in a huge fight in the hallway. She wants the lawyer to focus more on the Joker personality and stop talking about Arthur's childhood beatings. But most of all, Harley wants the focus to be on her. She's willing to talk to any camera that will listen to her. The lawyer tells Arthur the truth. Harley is rich. She was never abused as a child. She never even lit her parents' house on fire. She is actually a psychiatrist, and almost everything she ever told Arthur was a lie. Though the sex did happen, Arthur has a hallucination where he has a night show that he hosts with Harley, and everything's going well until she makes all the focus on herself, and then she shoots him dead. Not really the best daydream, I guess. Harley comes to visit Arthur in prison, and he confronts her with all the lies that he found out. She really doesn't want to deal with it, tells him that he just needs to embrace Joker, and he better listen to her because she's pregnant. Dude, Arthur, you need to run. I think taking the chair might be easier than living a life with this crazy woman. To end their argument, she just begins singing to him, and for some reason that works. Maybe it's because he's too tired with arguing with her, maybe he's excited to have a child with her, or maybe he just doesn't want to deal with the fact that this crazy woman is singing to him. The prosecution brings out Arthur's old neighbor. It turns out that her life has been turned upside down after all the murders. She was forced to move and still can't live a life of peace. Everything is ruined because of Arthur. She revealed that Arthur's mom begged her to be nice to him and that Arthur couldn't hurt a fly. But worst of all, she reveals that Arthur's mom never found him funny and just told him to be a comedian in order to cheer everyone up. But that was mostly just a passing line, and Arthur took that to heart. Arthur's whole career was a joke because of his mom. He begins to hallucinate in court and imagines killing the judge with a hammer. Afterwards, Arthur realizes that he doesn't need this lawyer. He'll represent himself. The Joker will be his lawyer. Of course, Harley is ecstatic because he's finally standing up for himself. She didn't want to be with Arthur anyways. She wants to be with Joker. Arthur returns to prison for the night and all the inmates are super excited. They begin to dance and actually begin a small riot. The next day, Arthur begins as representing himself as Joker in the courtroom. Now in walks Gary Puddles, the small man from the first movie, and he had to witness Arthur do one of his murders in person. And Gary, despite being picked on his whole life, had never actually been so scared. Gary's whole life was ruined. Just like the neighbor, Gary had to see something happen and have his whole life turn upside down. And this actually gets to Arthur. He never meant to hurt Gary. He just meant to hurt the bully that was with Gary. But it actually gets to him that he actually hurt his one and only friend, because that's what the real thing is. Gary Puddles was Arthur's only true friend in his whole life. And then the prosecution rests, and so does Joker immediately. He has no witnesses, he has no defense. That's all, folks, is really all he has to say. But will it be enough for the jurors to find him innocent? Arthur thinks things are going great, and he begins to hallucinate himself being freed with Harley. Of course, during the back and forth with his yelling with Gary Puddles earlier, he had insulted the guards. So when he returns to prison that night, the guards really take it to him. The guards beat him for an extended amount of time in an abandoned bathroom. If there's one rule you should have in prison, don't insult the people that can beat you at their own discretion. Closing arguments are coming out today. It's time for Harley to put on her clown makeup as well. Arthur pauses before giving his final speech. He begins to look around, about to give his huge Joker send-off, and then he has second thoughts. Arthur ends up apologizing for all those killings. He's not the Joker. He's very sorry. Hearing this, Harley stands up and storms out of the courtroom. She never wanted to date Arthur. She wanted to date Joker and have someone fully embrace the Joker identity. Arthur's found guilty on all counts. Arthur, no Joker, no Harley, no lawyer. He is there alone, found guilty in every single way. Immediately, a terrorist attack blows open the side of the courtroom. And in all that chaos, Arthur gets up and runs away. It looks like Harvey Dent took a hit to the side of the face. He almost has two faces now. While stumbling through the crowd, he is recognized by a bunch of his supporters who end up trying to drive him away to help him escape. But he doesn't want to go with them. He wants to go see Harley, and so he has them stop the car and he runs away. He knows where Harley lives. She lives very close to that giant famous stairs from the first film. And there is actually where he finds Lee, just sitting there waiting for him. She reveals it was all just a fantasy. She never wanted to be with Arthur. She wanted to be with the fictional Joker. And he's not Joker. She doesn't want to be with him. She dumps him and sings a song as she walks away. A heartbroken Arthur is arrested by the cops, taken away to go live the rest of his life until he is executed in the same prison. All alone, the guards hate him, and all the crazy people of Arkham, the rest of his life will not be too great. But maybe not. Arthur has a visitor, and as he's walking down the corridor to see who came to visit him, somebody wants to tell him a joke. Yes, one of the inmates who's been in the background of almost every single scene in this movie wants to tell him a joke he came up with. Of course, the joke is actually just that he wants to murder Arthur, and he stabs Arthur 10 times in the stomach. And our hero Arthur collapses to the floor, bleeding to death. The inmate takes the knife and cuts a smile into his face, because apparently Arthur never was the real Joker. It was always this random guy in the background. Or maybe he was the Joker. It's really not clear. And now I have seen it, so you don't have to. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out those other videos on screen now.